In the last year, I have emptied 151 products that amount to just over $5,000, $5,012, and I've learned a few things. Today I'm going to cover what these empties have taught me about myself and my preferences, my consumption habits, and I'm also going to give reviews of individual products from the last quarter of the last year. If you're new here, then hi, my name is Becca. I talk about empties and consumption pretty regularly here on my channel. I do track all of my empties throughout the year. And I do always say as a disclaimer that my consumption habits are not that of an average normal person. I've received a lot of products in PR. I test out beauty products for a living. So by no means am I saying this is what you should do or what you should aspire to do. But for me, going through all of this is actually really helpful just in learning about beauty trends, beauty products, things I like, things I dislike, just giving you a big overview over the year of things I've used. So I'm going to start out with things that my empties taught me, things I learned from 150 plus empties, and then we're going to get into the individual reviews and they will be sorted by category. So everything will be linked, timestamped below if you want to skip ahead to any of those sections. So let's get right into it. The first thing I have learned, and that I continue to learn time and time again as someone who does love luxury beauty, is that the thing that separates luxury beauty from everything else is not necessarily the formula. It's oftentimes about the experience of the product. When I talk about that, I mean the marketing, the packaging, the sort of brand experience that you're buying into, the brand story. And certainly formula can be a part of that, but it's just one part of that. And I will talk about formulas a little bit more in a second, but here's a really good example. This is the Pharmacy Honey Halo, which is a very beloved moisturizer in our house. I think between Sean and I, we've emptied 4 or 5 of these in the last year. He literally goes through these one every couple of weeks. The man does not know how lucky he has it, thanks to me. This is $48, so it's still a high-end product, but on the far more luxurious side, we have the SkinCeuticals Triple Lipid Moisturizer 242. This is a sort of cult favorite of the brand, and these are both ceramide-based moisturizers. They both actually have the word ceramide on the packaging. Triple Lipid is a little bit more complex. There's more fatty acids. They really talk about their lipid ratio, but in a routine, when it comes to the efficacy of these products, I would say they're pretty on par with each other. Personally, for my skin type, I would actually reach for Honey Halo over the Triple Lipid, although I love this one too. They're both rich. Triple Lipid is even a little bit richer, but when you're buying into something like SkinCeuticals, you're buying into the skin science aspect of it. There's of course the kind of cult favorite nature of something like Triple Lipid. And Honey Halo is beloved too, but SkinCeuticals, this is one of their standout products. And when you talk about SkinCeuticals, it's a product that people can often identify in the brand. That's just to say there isn't really a difference in terms of the product itself and the way that I use the product in these two ceramide rich moisturizers, which I would use at the end of a nighttime routine. It's really about sort of the branding, the experience, the sort of science forward marketing of something like SkinCeuticals. Again, that's not a critique of SkinCeuticals. I'm just saying people buy into luxury brands for different reasons, and it's not necessarily just the formula. The second thing I have learned from 150 empties is that to me, when it comes to skincare specifically, there is a class of products where I think it's worth it to spend a little bit more, and that is on your actives. That's not to say that drugstore actives or mid-range actives aren't as efficacious, because that's not necessarily true. But I do find that actives are sort of a class of skincare where I'm willing to spend a little bit more versus something like a hydrating serum or a cleanser or even a moisturizer, because my retinoids, my AHAs, BHAs, all of those pigment correcting products are doing active work rather than sort of barrier supportive work like the other products that I have mentioned. So I have a couple of examples that I'm going to talk about. One of them is crystal Crystal Retinol from Medicate. I actually just emptied another one. This is Crystal Retinol 10. It comes in different potencies of retinol, which is a little bit stronger than retinol with an O. And I do have a video describing all of these if you're curious. But they go from level 2 to I think 20. And I'm using a level 20 in my routines right now. And this is just one of my favorite retinoids on the market, period. They're super gentle. Even though there's high potency, I never get irritation. This is the first product that I turned to when I graduated from retinol to retinol. I just see such a difference in my skin texture, in the sort of glow of my skin, the sort of smoothness of my skin, reducing breakouts, reducing pigmentation. It's just an all-rounder. And so when it comes to something like my retinoids, that's where I'm willing to spend a little bit more money because I see the greatest bang for my buck, shall we say. Another example of that is the Mother Science Molecular Hero Serum. I, full disclosure, have worked with the brand, but I used the brand before I ever worked with them or partnered with them. I have a video that I published, I think last April, showing you some seriously dramatic before and afters of pigment like sunspots on my skin and post-acne pigmentation. That was totally unsponsored. And this has become a product that I can't live without in my routines. It's amazing because it's not an AHA or a BHA. They have an ingredient in here called malisazen, and that is meant to target that pigmentation specifically, but it's not irritating, and that's a really important thing too for my sensitive skin type. So finding something like this where it makes a real visible difference in pigmentation without irritating my skin, that sort of slots into all of my skincare routines. Like, I don't really have to think about it. This is a real gem of a product, and it's the kind of thing that I'm willing to spend money on, and I might spend less on cleansers or hydrating serums or moisturizers if I can have a really effective pigmentation serum in my routine. And in general, that is the advice that I give people when they ask about developing a skincare routine or where to spend money on, or where it's worth it to spend money on. For me, it's always worth it to spend money on really good actives that you know will give you results. That said, there's a sort of inverse to that previous rule, which is that expensive products don't necessarily give you results. I, because this is my work, get to try a lot of very bougie, extremely high-end skincare that I would never ever purchase myself or never have the capacity to bring myself to purchase. That's not to say that products like these are bad, but you do have to be discerning, and the efficacy of skincare is not proportionate with the amount you spend. That's a good way to put it. The efficacy of your skincare is not proportionate to the amount you spend. So here is an example. I actually really like this serum. So this is not a knock on the serum, but this is the Dr. Diamond's Medicine Plasma, and this is a growth factor serum. That's why it's so expensive. This is, I think, $200. The base of this is that it's a hydrating serum, but it also contains peptides and growth factors, both very hot classes of ingredients right now that help support well aging, that help, I don't know if I would call them anti-aging, but they do help support skin elasticity and sort of the skin's own rejuvenation. This is a serum that, again, I really, really liked, but it's not the kind of product where you're going to use this one bottle and totally see a difference in your skin. It's the kind of product you need to use over a long period of time in conjunction with other kinds of anti-aging measures like retinoids or actual in-office skincare treatments. This is just one class of ingredient that supports a sort of well-aging routine overall. So this is what I mean by spending a lot of money on one bottle of skincare is not going to give you a new face. You might still really like it the way I do, but spending a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean you're going to see the most results or the most maximum results with, one bottle of serum. If you want to see results like that, you need to do in-office treatments. That's money better spent, in my opinion. Of course, if money is no objection, then I would say, yeah, it's a great serum. It's a great supportive serum to have in your routines. The growth factors are great. It's going to help support a well-rounded, well-aging routine. But I would never go and say, spend $200 on this. You're going to see a drastic difference in your skincare, because you're just not. And that's just not the kind of product that this is. And most topical skincare doesn't do that anyway. So that is the third rule that I have learned. The price of skincare is not necessarily proportionate to its efficacy. Now, while I do like high-end and luxury beauty, it's just something that brings me a lot of joy, something I enjoy as like a hobby. There are actually quite a few affordable and mid-range skincare brands and products that I've used this year that I've actually reached for over high-end and luxury beauty. And there are specifically two brands that I want to mention as being sort of representative of that, and that is Naturium and Prequel Skin. I know you guys have asked me for brand reviews of the products that I've tried in both ranges, so I'm working on that. Those take time, but those will be coming soon. But I just want to give you a couple of examples of the skincare empties that I've reached for from these brands over high-end alternatives in my routines. The first that I have to absolutely call out, I think, was my favorite serum of last year, and this is the Prequel Multi-Quench Serum. They call it their plumping hydration serum, and I actually do agree with that. I have prepped my skin with it today. And this has 1% pure PGA, 3% PGA complex, 10% glycerin, ectoin, and osmolytes. Something about this serum does plump up the skin. I feel like it makes my skin look really smooth, and it gives you this really silky, hydrating serum texture that's quite unique. It sinks in without getting sticky and without getting tacky. And I feel like some of the thicker hydrating serums out there, they might start out a little bit more viscous, but they end up being a little bit tackier on the skin or sometimes pilling. This just has the most elegant texture. I've emptied this one. I have another one currently open. And this just really gives me long-lasting hydration, like hydration all day long without getting greasy, and it plays well with everything else. And I just notice when I have it in my routines and when I don't. It also comes in a glass bottle. I find the packaging is excellent. There's literally nothing left in this. Oh wait, there's a drop right there. You can see it's still fluid. It's not like totally goopy, but it has the most lovely glide, and one pump of this goes a really long way. It covers my whole face. So I usually do one pump of this on my face and one pump of this on my neck, and it just gives me the most beautiful, slippery, hydrating feel. In terms of the Prequel range, this is actually, I think it's $30, $29.99 or something. So it's on the higher end of the mid-range, and this is where drugstore sort of meets like Sephora, but it's so worth it. And I think it's still, in the world of serums, a very accessible price point, relatively speaking. It's just my favorite serum right now. From Naturium, this is a product that I've reached for over my high-end alternatives. This is the Naturium BHA Liquid Exfoliant 2%. If you have oily skin, congested skin, acne-prone skin, this is amazing. It's actually taken over my Paula's Choice 2% BHA exfoliant, which I do love, but I like this a little bit more because it doesn't leave a sort of oily residue that the Paula's Choice BHA leaves behind sometimes, and I know that's a common complaint of that product. This one is just like a fluid, liquid, watery texture, doesn't leave anything behind. It does the job really beautifully. I feel like it's great at decongesting. It's great at sort of getting into those blackheads. BHA is an oil-soluble hydroxy acid, which means that unlike AHA, which works sort of at the surface of the skin, this gets into your pores and your sebum production, and it helps manage that. So this is something that I reach for, 2 to 3 times a week, and it really does keep my skin from getting congested, just like those under skin breakouts. I just notice such a difference when I'm using this, and I think this is only $20. And it's one that I've reached for above my other sort of high-end exfoliants, just because it does everything I want it to do, and it doesn't leave any texture behind. The last lesson that I learned last year is that I simply do not empty makeup that often. Part of it is that I have so much makeup that I'm constantly testing, and I'm getting in new things in PR to try. So I don't think I have a normal makeup routine, but I really don't empty makeup products very often at all, with the exception of mascara. And I think that's just because I do find that when I open a mascara, I try to use it up. And even though I am testing new mascaras, it's just not a category that has as many releases as something else like foundation or blushes, and they are a sort of more time-sensitive product where a mascara will be good for a couple of months after you open it, but you can't really keep it around that long because it gets dry and it gets crusty. So this is a category of product that I find I run through a lot, and I'll give you the reviews of these once I get into the individual makeup reviews. Here's a great demonstration of a category I don't run through a lot. So this is the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Tint. I've actually emptied 2 of these, I think, and it's one of the rare foundations that I empty and repurchase because I love it so much. And I think part of it is that it's so unique on the market, even though there are other products like this, the Rose Inc one, the L'Oreal one. I still think the original is best, and it just gives you a skin finish and a skin look and an application experience that to me remains unrivaled, and it just makes the skin look like skin, but it gives you a slight tint. I just love it so much. But these are 2 foundations that I'm decluttering from my collection, and they have a lot of product left in them. And there are 2 products that I really liked. So the first one is the Exa foundation. I wear the shade 390 Alley. This is expired, and I think I've used about half of it, which is pretty good for me. The other product is the Beauty Blender Bounce Skin Tint. I actually think this is discontinued, which is kind of a bummer because I really like this skin tint. It did have like sort of an underground cult following. I would love for them to bring it back. This was the shade Light 5. But this one, I maybe used a quarter of it. I think especially when it comes to base products, I have base products that I reach for really frequently that are my favorites. But unless you're kind of dedicated to 1 or 2 foundations while you're using them the whole way through, it's really hard to empty, especially when you're someone who likes to try a lot of new foundations. So that is one category where it's like, this is more normal for me that I don't get through an entire product before it expires, and this is kind of an exception to that rule. But it is a very special product that sort of defies the rules. So those are the main lessons that I've learned from my empties in the last year. Some of these things have surprised me, some of these things have not. Some of them kind of just affirm what I already kind of knew about myself and the way that I use product. But now I'm going to get into the individual product reviews. This kind of covers my empties, I think, from like October to December of last year. So if you saw my previous empties video, we'll pick up the reviews from then. And why don't we start with skincare since we've talked about that so much already? Okay, why don't we start with first cleansers. This is a product you will have seen on my channel and in my favorites before. It's the Surat Hinoki Oil Cleanser. It's such a beautiful oil cleanser. It is a luxurious product. I received this in PR. I don't know if I would drop that amount on a cleansing oil, but if money is no object, it is a really beautiful cleansing oil. The Hinoki scent is incredible. It breaks down makeup, it breaks down waterproof mascara, it emulsifies beautifully. It's just a great product, and I feel like this bottle is actually a really nice size too, almost 5 ounces. I really loved it. I would love to have it in my life again. One cleansing oil that I didn't love, this is the Klog Plant-Rich Antioxidant Pore Cleansing Oil. This was a sort of thicker, richer cleansing oil, and I found that it didn't emulsify that well. It was like so rich, like a little bit too thick, that it kind of left a film on my skin, and it wasn't the most elegant cleansing experience. I did use most of it actually, but I didn't end up finishing it just because I didn't love the experience. There were other cleansing oils. There are other cleansing oils I love more. I actually think I stopped using this once I got the prequel cleansing oil that came in. That's what I'm using right now, and I really love that one. The Dr. Sam's Flawless Cleanser, I think I have also mentioned in a favorites video before. This is a gel cleanser that has a pretty unique texture. The gel is kind of on the stiffer side, and I feel like you're able to really work it into the skin without it losing that stiffness. So, you know, some gel cleansers that are runnier, you sort of need to work quickly to get it across your skin and to cleanse. This, because it's a little bit stiffer, it almost feels like a cleansing balm going on, but then it rinses away like a gel cleanser. This bottle is also huge. It's 200 milliliters, 6.8 ounces. I love that it has a pump. I have another one ready to be opened. I really love it. Also, if you have sensitive skin, it's a great option. There's no fragrance in this one. And then I always have a Bioderma micellar water. I feel like generally I have one open all the time. This one was the Ultra, or the H2O version. It was like a sort of a light blue color. I like their pink one best, their classic one, but yeah, this one was great too. I have another La Roche-Posay micellar water. This one I used when I was traveling. This one is great too. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Bioderma. I feel like the La Roche-Posay took maybe a little bit more work to break down mascara, but still a really great option. Also both great for sensitive skin. And then in terms of hydrating products, this is the Peach and Lily Glass Skin Veil Mist. I really love this. It has a very fine mister, a ever so slightly milky mist that gives you really lovely hydration. It's very calming. I would totally use this again, and it comes in a glass bottle, which is nice. This I really loved, and I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. It's the Rephr Rebalancing Essence. And obviously Rephr we know for their brushes, but the rebalancing essence is so nice, and I love that it comes in a big bottle with a pump. I think you can actually maybe refill this, I want to say. So this has glycerin, niacinamide, meadow foam seed oil, panthenol, beta-ine, and allantoin. So a lot of really calming ingredients. It's a very runny essence. It's not like a heavier, richer essence. It's one that almost feels like a toner. My skin just drank this up, and I feel like the pump was sort of revelatory for me, where I was like, I want all of my essences and toners to come in a pump because it just makes it so easy rather than sort of shaking out the bottle. Loved it. Also great for sensitive skin. Oh, found a mini of the Jordan Samuel Skin Matinee Gel Cleanser. This is actually somewhat similar to the Dr. Sam's Flawless Cleanser. This one has a slightly stiffer texture, but both really lovely, and obviously I traveled with this one and I emptied it, and I have emptied the full size multiple times. Let's get into hydrating serums. These are 3 different hydrating serums that I really loved. Obviously, I just talked about the Prequel one. It's probably my favorite serum of the last year. It's affordable. It's $30. It has the most beautiful slippery quality to it, but I feel like it's really calming and hydrating at the same time, and the hydration that lasts all day long for me. I really notice when I have this in my routines and when I don't. On the higher end, this is my favorite luxury hydrating serum. This is the Saatchi Pro Resilient Serum. I've talked about this many times. If you have sensitive skin or barrier issues or redness, this is amazing. It's not only a hydrating serum, that's why it has the higher price point. It also has antioxidants, peptides, bioflavonoids, and this is really going to support your skin barrier. It really reduces redness. It also has a beautiful slip to it. I also notice when I don't have this in my routines, and I'm really sad whenever I do empty it. And I do have a Saatchi Skin Coat. It's Becca 15 if you're ever curious to try. And then sort of in the mid-range again, this is the Peach and Lily Copper Peptide Pro Firming Serum. This has the blue color. I don't know if you can see right there, the blue color of copper peptides. And it's a really relatively affordable way to incorporate copper peptides in your routines to support sort of well-aging routines. It's also a lovely hydrating serum. I actually use this on my neck a lot because my neck, I can't use a lot of actives. Like I can't use retinoids. I'm very sensitive there. So I wanted to incorporate copper peptides to sort of help with the skin firming, anti-aging in that area. And if you can't tolerate traditional retinoids, copper peptides are a nice thing to incorporate into your routines, and this is a really good one. This is the Make Beauty Subverse Plumping Peptide Serum. I love this one, and if I didn't have the Prequel serum in my routine, I would say this is my favorite one, but I do love this one. I do like the addition of peptides in this hydrating serum. It's a very juicy, hydrating serum, but the peptides do kind of elevate it a little bit. There's nothing in this. It's a hydrating serum. I've actually gone through a couple of these, I think, and it's really lovely. It also gives you long-lasting hydration. And then of course the Dr. Medicine Plasma, which I talked about earlier, which has the growth factors to stimulate the sort of natural rejuvenation in your own skin. And it is lovely. It's a hydrating serum, but it's not a need. It's a $200 serum. So it's very much a treat, but it's not going to change your face. It's not going to give you a new face, but it is nice. And the growth factors are nice to have in your routine. And then my 3 actives that I've emptied, I actually talked about all of these earlier, but let's go through again in case you missed that. Mother Science is my favorite pigmentation serum that's not a vitamin C. It contains antioxidants, so it gives you that antioxidant protection. It is hydrating, but it just really, really fades post-acne pigmentation for me. Like, I really notice when I don't have this. My favorite BHA of the moment is the Naturium BHA, and this is the 2%. And I just use this maybe 2 to 3 times a week on a cotton pad right after cleansing before I have anything else on my skin. And then I go in with the rest of my routine. And I do have a Becca 15 code. If you want to use it, it's 15% off. And my favorite retinoids, which you've heard me talk about before, this is the Medik8 Crystal Retinol 10. Currently in my rotation, I think I have Crystal Retinol 20, but I've used basically all strengths of it, and it's my favorite retinol/retinoid on the market. So effective, it helps with well aging, it gives you such an even skin tone, even skin texture, and it's high end, but for me, it's something that is absolutely worth it. Then I have a couple of eye creams, actually. Sean emptied both of these. These are both from Paula's Choice. He likes the Paula's Choice eye creams. This was the C5 Super Boost eye cream that has a little bit of vitamin C in it, and then this was the ceramide enriched firming eye cream. I've emptied this before as well, and I really like it. If I had to pick one, I would go for this one just because I like the addition of ceramides in there. It's almost like a night mask for your eye area. The C5 is really nice too, but to be honest, in terms of brightening dark circles, vitamin C isn't gonna do that. Dark circles are hereditary. The best thing to brighten dark circles is concealer. And then let's talk about moisturizers. I have a bunch. Why don't we go with the ones in the tubes first? So I've got these. I think the lightest in texture is the Allies of Skin Peptides and Antioxidants Firming Daily Treatment. I love this packaging, by the way. I love the pump. It gets out every bit of product. This is a really lovely daytime moisturizer for me. It has peptides, it has antioxidants. It's a complex ingredient list. I find that with Allies of Skin, that's always true. These do come at a higher price point, but they also cover a lot of your bases where you don't necessarily need an antioxidant serum or peptide serum when you're using this. You could just use this as your daily moisturizer and get a fully balanced meal of all of the nutrients that your skin needs. In terms of the richer moisturizers, this is the Dr. Sam's Flawless Intense Moisturizer. I think you've heard me talk about this in favorites before too. I actually have another one open. This one is so lovely. I was a little scared when I heard intense because that sounds really rich. Maybe it's gonna clog my pores. I do get easily congested, but this is a rich moisturizer that feels thick on application, but then it melts into the skin. It doesn't feel greasy after. I can even use it in the daytime, but it's very healing. It's really supportive of the skin barrier. I feel like it's a great all-rounder moisturizer, not super active, but the texture is really nice. Similarly, the Jordan Samuel Skin Moisture Recovery Cream is their version of a rich cream. It's buttery, it's a little bit stiffer in texture than the Dr. Sam's. It's more of like, almost like a balmy moisturizer. Sean used this up. He used it up really quickly, even though this is their jumbo tube. I think he liked having a big tube to just like use really generously. Then I have the Make Beauty Hydrascape Emulsion. I actually put this in the moisturizer category, even though it's an emulsion, because it is so emollient and rich and buttery. This is almost like a liquid moisturizer. Let me see if I can get some out. Yeah, it looks like this, and that's really lipid rich. And so it's spreadable on the skin, but it gives you, dare I say, slightly a little bit of greasiness. But if you have dry skin or you really want to lock in moisture, I think you'll love this. Like, just look at that glow that it gives your skin. And actually, I think that this is the more affordable version of the U Beauty Super Hydrator, which is a very, very similar product. I know it looks full because the packaging is white, but it's not. This is also a liquid emulsion. See? The textures are very similar. The difference is that actually the U Beauty one is fragranced, and I don't love the fragrance, but it gives you a similar emollients and richness and like milkiness to the skin. And when I use these, this serves as my moisturizer because it is so emollient. It's really oily, but in a nice way, like an elegant way. And I actually prefer something like this over a straight up oil because it is like a liquid moisturizer. And then let's talk about moisturizers in a jar. I've already talked about Pharmacy's Honey Halo so many times. Love it, buttery, ceramide rich. Sean literally always says it feels like butter on your skin. He actually also emptied need the Laneige Water Bank moisturizer. This is the rich version, and they came out with these in a gel, their original like light blue color, and then the rich version. I've used all of them and I like them all. I just don't love the slight floral fragrance in them, but it is a really lovely texture and I feel like it's rich without being overly heavy. If you need something that is truly almost balm-like, this is the Make Beauty Hibernation Capsule Overnight Recovery Balm. This really is like a balmy, buttery product that melts into the skin. You only need a little bit to sort of work as your night mask. And this is a refillable package, which I do like. If you have truly dry skin or you like to sort of grease it up at night to really last overnight, this is a great one for that purpose. And then I have my SPFs. You guys know I love my Skin 1004 SPFs. I've gone through several of these. They're beloved Hyaluronic Water Fit Sun Serum. Both are SPF 50 PA4+, but I actually think this one's better. I've talked about it nonstop. The Tea Tree Soothing Sun Milk, also SPF 50 PA4+. I just like the milky, serum-y texture of this more than I like this, but they are both amazing, and they're both in my like top 5 sunscreens. Iris&Romeo Weekend Skin. I really love this tinted SPF. I actually have another one open and this one is expired. That's why this is in my empties pile, even though I haven't finished it up. This actually comes in a couple of different shades and it gives you a slightly tinted, highlighty quality, and it just makes the skin look really glowy and really beautiful. It's almost like Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter in SPF form, and this is a mineral SPF, so it's a great option if you have sensitive skin. And then if you have dry skin and you like a K-Beauty SPF, you'll love this. I have combo skin and I still love this. It's the Abib Heart Leaf Sun Essence Calming Drop SPF 50 PA4+. I think this one is expired. I just ordered a new one. This is a milky sun serum that really melts into the skin, has no white cast. It's a great option for sensitive skin. It's just so beautiful. It has a slightly richer finish, slightly more emollient finish on the skin than the Skin 1004 ones. So that's why I would recommend this for drier skins or if you want a glowy finish. Whereas these just absorb so quickly and are much, much lighter in texture. That is it for skincare. Let's move on to hair care, body care, and makeup. Let's just do a quick lip touch-up, by the way. This is the Fui Stay Fit Lip Tint in Go 4, and it's so cute. First of all, the packaging is so cute. I also love that these come in different opacities. I think this is 30% opacity, and it's just such a cute shade. It's just so cute. So thin in texture too. Okay, let's start with hair. I'm gonna start with wash products. And this is a product that I am really undecided about. So this is the hair brand Pore. I think they're newer on the market, and this is their shampoo and conditioner. These are texturally very different from your conventional shampoo and conditioner. The shampoo is really, really runny, and I actually had an issue with the packaging where it's like the twist cap packaging, but because it's so runny, I would have to hold my hand under it while I opened it, because the second you open it, it just starts pouring out. And it's a very fluid texture that doesn't suds up a lot, which is okay, but I kind of couldn't tell if my hair was getting really clean, and I felt like I needed to use a lot of product in order for it to get clean. And I don't know if that's because it doesn't suds up a lot, but I found myself often wondering, like, am I using the right amount of product? I feel like I'm using so much shampoo. I just couldn't tell. And then the conditioner was also really interesting. It was a brown color, like a chestnutty brown, and it had almost like a little bit of texture to it. It also was a little bit on the runny side, not like a rich, creamy moisturizer. I did feel like when I used these, my hair was really shiny and really healthy, but the sensory experience of the product I just didn't love. And the packaging, this also has a twist cap packaging, but when I would close it, there would be a little bit of conditioner that would like squirt out, and then I would put it down on my counter and it would just sort of cake up on the tile in my shower. So these are minor things, but like enough to be like, I don't know if I really loved it. Even though my hair looked good, I don't know if I loved the sensory experience of these enough to make me want to use it again, even though my hair looked good, which I know that should be like the main thing. But sensory wise, they were just like a little bit kind of off for me. In terms of a sensory product I love, I've mentioned these so many times, it's the Necessaire Rosemary Shampoo and Conditioner. Gorgeous suds, rich conditioner, hair looks really shiny. I think these are super underrated. The scent is incredible. It smells like a bougie spa. I do have a discount code. I'll flash that on screen. And yeah, I've emptied this like 2 or 3 times. I love it so much. And this is the Laguna Volume Boost Thickening Shampoo and Conditioner. I love this scent. It's incredible. It sort of smells like coconut. It's like a little bit tropical and beachy, not in a fruity way, more in an aquatic way. I actually loved the conditioner of this more than I loved the shampoo. I already have very thick, coarse hair, so maybe the thickening shampoo was not necessarily necessary for me. It might be a hair type thing, but the conditioner I loved, and I found it really rich and creamy, almost like a hair mask. But I do really love all of Saltaire's shampoos and conditioners and just everything they do, really. I think they're super underrated. They're also in Target. For leave-in, I have another bottle of the Unite 7 Seconds Detangler. Best detangler around. I think I have one of these in every single empties video. It's great for every hair texture. Then I have the Amika Velveteen Dream. I use this for slicked back ponytails and slick back buns, but it doesn't have a huge amount of hold. I actually think Sean finished this bottle, and it was good for him because he has the opposite of my hair texture, which is sort of curly, wavy, really thick, kind of coarse. And I think this helped give him some manageability without it looking like gelled or overly slick or shiny. It kind of has a matte finish to it, which is nice. And then a few body things. Emptied another Naturium body wash. This is the Booster Hyaluronic Acid one. This is great if you have dry skin. I don't know if I love it as much as their Glow Getter one, the oily version. That's my favorite, but this is a close second. I also emptied a L'Occitane Lavender Foaming Bath. It's a great bubble bath, and it is higher end than my drugstore kind of bubble baths, but I find that I only need a little bit, like truly a tablespoon, to fill up my whole bath. So this actually lasted me a long time, and I really love their lavender scent. And then in rare form, I emptied a fragrance, or rather a body mist. This is the Being Frenchie Lavender Cloud Unwind and Rest Hair, Body, and Linen Mist. I love this scent so much. It's lavender, but it has a creaminess to it and a freshness to it at the same time. I actually want to repurchase it, and this was a great room spray. I actually finished it because I used it as a room spray in our bathroom and in our bedroom. I found the scent really comforting, but Being Frenchie has so many great scents. I think they're also really underrated, and they're also at Target. And then finally, I'm going to close out with makeup, starting with lip products. These are sort of makeup, skincare, whatever. I have a Laneige lip sleeping mask, my annual Laneige lip sleeping mask. This is the scent Vanilla, one of my favorites. And then I have another Make Beauty serum balm. I've emptied so many of these. This is a really lovely, like chubby doe foot applicator, and this is the shade Halo Moon, which is just like a shiny light pink. There's like a touch of sheen through it, but it is like a liquefied lip balm, and I use this as a lip balm. That's why I've gone through so many of these. And then I have the Aquaphor stick version. I love this thing. I actually use it at night before bed. I've used it on chapped areas of my skin. I love having it in stick form. You can also use it like or on your face if you want to add a little emollients. It's just so versatile. I travel with this a lot too. And then technically this is not an empty, but it's expired and I immediately repurchased it. This is my Victoria Beckham Beauty Girl lipstick. It's the perfect neutral nude. I'll swatch it even though it's expired. It's sheer, but it's like a beigey nude, and I have not found a lipstick that dupes this exactly. I have so many lipsticks in my life, so many different lip formulas in my life, and there have been so many tinted balms, but nothing really matches this. I think something about the cool tone quality of this shade, especially on my lips, makes it a little bit beige, a little bit mauve-y. It kind of cools down my natural lip tone, and it's a very cool nude. Like there's a little bit of edginess to it. So I repurchased it and I have a new one open. And then I have a lip declutter. This is the U Beauty Lip Plasma Lip Compound in the shade Fawn. Oh, okay, so it looks pretty. It's like a lip serum, and it has a metal tip applicator. They have a clear version of this. They now have tinted versions of these, but actually this is all separated, so there is no point in showing you. They just taste so bad. Like they're so bitter and it doesn't go away. It stays that way the whole time it's on your lips, and I just can't use these even though I want to. Like in theory, it's the kind of product that I like, that I should like, but it's so bitter. I can't get over it. I don't know why it is that way. I'm like, did you guys test this before putting it out to market? I don't get it. And then my mascaras. Let's talk about the most fun one. This is the Lily by Red Color Cara. This is a like purpley, actually it's the shade number 2. It's called Rosy Brown. I actually have this now in another shade, but it's the prettiest rosy brown color. If you have brown eyes or green eyes, this will really make your eyes pop. I loved this mascara, and I found that it was subtle enough to use every day. It's not like a bright blue mascara or anything. It just added a little touch of like softness and warmth around the eyes. I loved the Talk Beauty mascara. The applicator is great. It's a really fine molded brush, and it really gets in between the lashes. It's very buildable. It does not smudge. Loved this one. And then the Finding Ferdinand Lash Lift. This is a tubing mascara that I actually loved. Another similar molded brush. I obviously have a type. And I found that this was actually a really lengthening mascara, tubing mascara that built on itself pretty well. It didn't smudge. It was easy to remove. One mascara that just did not work out for me is the Iris&Romeo Lash Up Peptide Thickening Mascara. I really liked the application of this. I really liked the lash look it gave me. Looks like this. And I liked the curved brush, even though it is big for my eye shape. The curve sort of helped get into those corners, but it just smudged on me. And I could not get it to not smudge on me, unfortunately, even though I really liked the application. And finally, these, which I've already talked about, but I'll go through real quick. I've emptied this twice. This is a Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Tint. I wear the shade medium, although I have the shade light medium now, and I like that too. Medium is more of my summer shade. It's that watery, fluid serum texture with the pigment capsules that burst as you apply it. None of the dupes out there look on the skin the way this does, I think. They've just balanced the right amount of pigment, and it gives you a sort of filtered, dewy, just applied skincare look. But it does a little bit of something. It's almost like there's a little bit of a veil over your skin that's slightly diffused, slightly blurring. It's not high coverage at all, but it does even out redness just enough. It's so beautiful. And then these two I loved, but I had to declutter because they're expired. The Exa foundation, loved it. I wore the shade 390 Alley. It was a really good shade match for me. A really good middle of the road foundation. It's satin, or actually they call it a semi-satin. It was a good summer foundation for me, but it was thin, not cakey, didn't move around. A really, great middle of the road foundation. You could sheer it out if you wanted, but it's buildable to like a medium high. And then the Beauty Blender Bounce Skin Tint. This is discontinued, I think, which is unfortunate because it was a really beautiful, like medium coverage, dewy tint. It had a lot more coverage than you would think. It looked so beautiful on the skin. It gave such a glowy, skin smoothing finish. Please bring it back, Beauty Blender, if you're watching. And that is it. That is all of the products that I emptied from October to December of last year. All of the lessons I've learned along the way. I'm well into tracking my empties for 2025. I already have so many actually, so I feel like I need to do one kind of soon. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned, let me know. I know we covered a lot of ground here today, so I'm always happy to answer more questions in the comments. And if you enjoyed, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!